My birthday cake. 41.
Hey, Thomas, you got a message from John.
Thanks, Miss Leanne. Happy birthday. Can you do Jazz Report again? Here we go again, folks. Hey, Thomas Ellis Jr. back and helping out John again with the Jazz Report. And let's get to our first take. Our first take, I would like to start with, what did I do this past weekend? Well, I went to Covington, Millington to check out that showdown between two top 10 teams in our dynamic Power 10. And Covington proved that they deserved to be in that top 10. They took care of Millington 44-0. They overwhelmed the Trojans on the offensive line and the defensive line. Millington showed some fight there in the second half, but Covington, the running game, just is starting to click. As they beat Jackson Northside 41-0 the previous week, they're starting to get things in a nice rhythm. Now they take on Brighton this upcoming week to see if they can keep the momentum going. Brighton suffered a tough loss with their junior quarterback, Cade Croson. He went down with a leg injury. From what reports I heard, it was a broken leg. So we just going to pray for him and wish him a speedy recovery out there in Brighton. But we know it's going to still be a good competitive game between two Tipton County teams, two good rivalries. So if you got a little, extra time this Friday night, head on out there to Tipton County. I think the games will be at Brighton. Check out Covington, Brighton. Millington's going to bounce back with a very important game this week, historic game. They're going to open up their new field at Mooney Boswell Stadium out there in Millington, taking on the Fayette Academy Vikings. So that I'm going to be out there to check out that historic moment, and I'm going to go take this call and get ready for our second take. Okay, back with our second take, and I want to point out the three unbeatens that we have in our dynamic physical therapy Power 10. Collierville is number 1. They are still unbeaten. Germantown, we're going to talk more about them in a second. They're number 2 in the Mumford Cougars. All these teams took care of business this past week, and they're starting to look dominant, very convincing. So I think it's going to be, the month of September is going to be tight for all three of these teams. They're going to jump into the meat of their district schedule and take on some tough opponents. Then by the end of September, we're going to have a showdown between Collierville and Germantown, and we'll really see who's number 1 at that point. But we only have 3 unbeatens in our coverage area left, the Bartlett Express, the Millington Star, the Germantown News and Shelby Sun-Times, and the Collierville Herald-Independent. So we cover up to 20 teams in our coverage area. Only 3 are unbeaten. So just letting you know this is going to be a very competitive season, and we see how it'll shake out. And let's get ready for our third take. Now back with the third take and game of the week. That's obvious. 24-21 Germantown over Whitehaven down in the Haven. Great game. Coach Salisbury had his Tigers ready. Coach Robinson had his boys from Germantown ready. The Red Devils went into hostile territory, fell behind, but did not give up. It was 21-14. Malik Mason paced Germantown throughout the first half with his rushing. And quarterback Isaiah Tate for Germantown kept his team in the game. And then with less than 20 seconds, I think it was 19 seconds left, the play happened, the hook and lateral. Isaiah Tate, he hooks up with Cameron Ledlow at about the 10-yard line. He takes in the ball. A couple of Germantown guys are about to surround him. Pitches it to the running back, B.J. Blake, as he's circling out of the backfield. Caught it about the 11-yard line, so it was a lateral. He dives over the pylon for the go-ahead score, and the extra point added. Bam, 24-21 Germantown. If that ain't the game of the week, I don't know what it is. And I had to give a shout out to 2 YouTube channels that helped me see this happen in live form. Memphis Sports Zone, my boy Brian Eccles does a great job, and Snoop DeMarco, by former player Mr. Robinson, who played at Hamilton High School down in Memphis, Tennessee. Now he's doing the YouTube channel covering Memphis sports primarily. So check out and support both of those channels. That's Snoop DeMarco and Memphis Sports Zone, and we'll be back with my fourth take. Okay, so player of the week comes from Germantown. The Whitehaven game, Mr. Isaiah Tate, the quarterback aforementioned, 210 passing yards, 2 touchdowns in the air, and I think he also picked up 54 yards on the ground. The first couple weeks for Germantown, they skirted by and took care of MUS and Christian Brothers defense special teams. If Isaiah Tate starts to click and gets everything rolling, Coach Robinson is going to have a jewel. And this team could do something really special. They could be last year's Collierville, but Coach, Rocco and the Dragons is going to make sure they try to stop that momentum. They can actually do something about it once they play them. But Collierville has to take care of Whitehaven really soon. So that Region 8-6A is going to be tight and competitive all season. And we'll get most of our players of the week from that region, trust me. And we'll be back and we're going to take a breakdown of the Dynamic Power Team. Hey, so to wrap up things this week on the JS Report, we're going to break down the Dynamic Physical Therapy Power 10. And once again, we want to thank them for being the sponsors of our Power 10 this year with 2 locations in our area of Millington and Covington. You go to 8586 Highway 51 North in Millington, and then the convenient location in Covington, 973 Highway 51, Suite 12 in Covington. And they're expanding across West Tennessee and getting better and better as our Power 10 is getting better and better as we get into week 4. We look at number 10, the Bartlett Panthers, 2-1, picked up a big win over Arlington, 49-19. They get ready to take on a quality Lausanne team this week. It's going to be a tough task. Lausanne got them 35-0 last year, so Bartlett's looking for a little revenge. And number 9 is ECS at 2-1. They're back in our top 10. They had to head up to Jackson Christian, one of the toughest teams in the private school small division. But ECS got back in our top 10 with a 30-16 win over Tupelo Christian. Number 8, FACS. They're 2-1 all as well, and they travel to Halls. That's a long trip. Halls is tough this year, competitive. They beat Tipton Rosemark to open up the season. So this ain't the regular little Tigers that you roll over. So FACS will have a tough matchup, but FACS is coming off a 27-7 win over Hardin Academy. Number 7, the Covington Chargers at 2-1. They go to Brighton. They took care of Millington 44-0. Number 6, 2-1 Houston Mustangs. They go against Pierre Academy as they picked up a 42-6 win over Cordova. MUS is coming in at number 5, 2-1 as well. They take on the Raleigh Pharaohs down there at MUS. They picked up a big 49-8 win over St. Benedict. Now we'll get into our top 4. At 2-1 Briarcrest. They just suffered their first loss of the season to Brentwood Academy. There's no shame in that. Brentwood took care of them 38-7. They'll try to bounce back against DeSoto Central as they take on a team that's coming from Mississippi. Now our top 3, the 3 unbeatens. Number 3, Mumford Cougars, 3-0. Took care of things against Douglas, 44-0. Now they welcome in Dyersburg. These Trojans are tough. You're going to see what they can get. Known for their powerful running attack as well. Can Mumford survive this test? Number 2, Germantown Red Devils at 3-0. I argue they could be number 1 because they're 3-0. They beat 3 quality teams. But we still have them at number 2. They got time to prove that they're number 1 as they get ready to take on Hillcrest after the big win over Whitehaven. And that number 1, 3-0, still number 1, the defending champs. The Collierville Dragons took care of White Station 37-6. They actually gave up some points. Now they head down to Mississippi to take on Center Hill. So we'll see how the rest of the Power 10 shakes out. Once again, we want to thank Dynamic. And John, thank you for this birthday gift for getting to host the show again. I hope you feel better soon and you get back in here to take care of the JS Report, and we'll see you next week.